All right, hello and good morning, everybody. I have number 10 from yesterday's assignment 9.5. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll get this started here. Okay. So this is just kind of to help the people that were gone. We did 1 through 10 yesterday. Our first step in completing the square is to get the c all by itself. So we'll start off with g squared plus 5g. Leave a little space, and then bring the 4 over, which would become a negative 4. Next thing we're going to do is take half of 5, which is 2.5, and then we're going to square it. And when we do that, we get a positive 6.25. Whatever we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side of the equation. All right, now our next step. We're going to turn the left side, the trinomial, into one set of parentheses. And when we do that, we take the square root of the first term. The square root of g squared is g. Bring down the plus sign. The square root of 6.25 would be 2.5. Combine the other side, get negative 4 with 6.25, 2.25. All right, now the opposite of squaring something is take the square root of it. So after you take the square root of the left side, the 2, or the squared, goes away. So I'd have g plus 2.5 equals plus or minus the square root of 2.25. Like I said, you take the square root of the left side, the square root of the right side, and they cancel out on the left, and on the right, you put a plus or minus in between there. Okay, so now I got to type this into my calculator real quick. The square root of 2.25 is 1.5. All right, so I am going to bring g plus 2.5 equal sign. The first time I'm going to write a plus 1.5. The second time I'll write the equation g plus 2.5 equals a negative 1.5. Now if I solve the top equation, I'm going to get g equals, if I subtract 2.5 from both sides, I'd get a negative 1, my first answer. And if I subtract 2.5 from both sides on the bottom one, I'd get, I think that's negative 4. There we go. So my first answer is g is negative 1, and my second answer is g is negative 4. So right now, we should pause the video, get our names on our papers, and get them all turned in. And then as soon as it looks like everyone's got their papers up, hit the play button, and we'll go over the review for the quiz. All right, the first one is 9.2. Now, here's what I saw in 9.2. We have to identify the A, B, and C. So, for example, it says, what is A, B, and C for this problem here? And the number in front of x squared is your A. So, A equals 2. B would equal, B is the number in front of x, so that's your 3. Now, there isn't a C, so our C is 0. Now, 9.2 is all about finding the vertex and the axis of symmetry, but before we can do that, if we can't identify our A, B, and C, we're in trouble. When you do the next one down here, our A is 4. Notice how there isn't a B value, so our B is 0, and our C is negative 9. Okay, now we have to be able to do this first before we can get it to the next problem, and here is the next problem. So we want to find the axis of symmetry so we can graph this guy. We also need the vertex and another point. All right, so the axis of symmetry is minus b over 2a. X equals, put open spots. If you don't put parentheses, There's a chance you could get it wrong. Now, here's what I was talking about with A, B, and C. If you can't identify them, then you can't plug them in. So our B is negative 6. Our A is 1. So we'd get positive 6 over 2, so x equals 3. Our axis of symmetry runs along vertically right about here, guys. All right. Now our vertex. Vertex is found by using the 3 in place of the x. So we set up our equation y equals open spots wherever we see the x. Plug in the number 3 in those spots. Y equals 9 minus 18 plus 4. Well, 9 minus 18 is negative 9. Plus 4 to that is 5. Negative 5, yeah. Negative 5. There we go. So go forward 3, down 5, place a dot. Now we need one more, guys. We want to label that the vertex. We want to label the axis of symmetry, x equals 3. There we go. Now another point. The best thing to do for another point is to use 0 in place of the x. Now I'm not expecting much work for this one, actually none at all if you do it right. We put 0 in place of the x into the original problem, and you notice the only thing you have left over is a 4, or your c value right here, guys. So go left and right, 0, up 4. Now this is a mirror, so whatever happens to one side happens to the other. Since you count this way, 1, 2, 3, count this way, 1, 2, 3. Here's your other dot. Connect the U, and it is perfect, guys. To get these right on the quiz, you have to show this work. Axis of symmetry, vertex, and then another point you really don't have to show much work. So that's 9.2. Let's hop into 9.3 now. Okay, here's 9.3. There's no graphing on 9.3. All you have to do is find the solutions. When I see something like this, I notice right away that there is an A, there's a C, but there's no B. This problem can be done very quickly if you just solve for x. So I'd set it up as 3x squared minus 75 equals 0. And then I just solve for x. So add 75 to both sides. Divide by 3. X squared equals 25. The opposite of squaring something is square root. Most people will get this right. However, there will be a few that forget that when you take the square root of 25, you need a plus or minus in front of it. So plus or minus, the square root of 25 really turns into x equals plus or minus just a 5, guys. Positive 5 and a negative 5. All right, that's the main stuff for 9.3. If we looked at one that's even easier, we'd look at like letter A up here. We'd go m squared equals, kick the 36 over to get a positive 36. So m equals plus or minus. Then you take the square root. The square root of 36 is 6. There it is. All right, we're on the last one. We're on 9.4. On 9.4, what I would do is use a table. Notice how the directions say factor. P squared goes here, negative 20 goes here. Your AC number is negative 20. Factors of 20 to get 1 would be like 4 and 5. But let's see here. The 4 would be negative, the 5 would be positive. Yep, that's right. Negative 4p, 5p. From the top down, factor out a p, 5, p, and a negative 4. All right, so I have p plus 5, p minus 4. The new stuff is setting that equal to 0. You know that if you go p plus 5 equals 0, if you would solve for 5, you'd actually move it over and get a negative 5. And on the second one, if you move the negative 4 over, it'd become a positive 4. And there's your answer. All right, so now if you want to take a little more time to look at this one, that's fine. But I have to erase it and show you letter E real quick because that one is on the quiz. So let me figure out how I'm going to erase this here. There we go. And the last one. I notice on letter E that I don't have a trinomial. I have a binomial. I only have two things. Now this one's even easier. Think of a number or a letter. You can factor out of both the first and second term. You could factor out an x, leaving you with x minus 4 equals 0. Your first answer for this one is, if you cover up the first one, x equals 0. Your second answer would be x minus 4 equals 0, but when you move the 4 over, it becomes a positive 4. Make sure you show your work on the quiz. The bell's ringing. Make sure you show your work on the quiz. You can use Desmos, but if you don't show your work, I'm not going to give you credit for it. And you can use your notes. And that should be about it, guys. All right, good luck.